Welcome back to the deep dive.
Oh,
Today we're going to be talking about something that is absolutely crucial to how we learn
right.
and
Yes.
really just understanding how well
Uh-huh.
we understand what we read.
Absolutely.
So really like not just processing the words,
Yeah.
but having that sense of knowing if we actually, if the information is truly clicked in our mind.
I think that's one of the biggest things that I've encountered is
Yeah.
that people think that because they've read something that they know it.
Yeah.
And
And
sometimes
so
it's not always the
this
case.
deep dive is going to be all about metacomprehension.
Yes.
And for you, the listener, you know, as someone who really values gaining knowledge quickly and thoroughly,
Yeah.
getting a clear sense of what you actually understand is paramount.
Absolutely.
It's like having a reliable fuel gauge for your learning.
It is.
To help us get a more accurate reading on this.
Yeah.
We're going to be diving deep into a research article titled Adult Metacomprehension: Judgment Processes and Accuracy Constraints by Zhao and Linderholm.
Great article.
And
Yeah.
it's packed with insights into how we think
Yeah.
about our own thinking.
It really is.
So our goal today is to really unpack how we judge our own understanding when we read.
Yeah.
What makes us think we've got it sometimes?
Right.
And why are we so way off at other times?
Exactly.
And crucially,
Yeah.
what practical insights can you gain
Yeah.
to become a more effective
Yes.
and self-aware learner?
Love that.
Okay, let's start
Actually.
by just really understanding this term metacomprehension.
Right.
It sounds a bit academic.
Yeah.
But what's the core idea here?
So simply put, metacomprehension is a specific kind of metacognition.
Yeah.
And metacognition, in the words of Flavel back in 1985, is any knowledge or cognitive activity that takes as its object or regulates any aspect of any cognitive enterprise. So think of it as your brain reflecting on its own thinking process.
So it's like having a supervisor in my head
Precisely.
who's checking on my regular thinking.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Nelson and Narens in 1990 elaborated on this with the idea of two levels.
Okay.
The object level, where you're directly engaged in a task like reading and trying to understand.
Okay.
And the meta level, where you're monitoring how well it's going and adjusting your approach if needed.
So monitoring would be like, oh, hey, this isn't making sense.
Yes,
And controlling would be like, okay, I need to slow down. I need to reread this.
That's the control part of it.
Okay.
So meta comprehension zooms in specifically on that monitoring aspect within reading.
Okay.
Maki and Berry in 1984.
Okay.
And later, Maki and colleagues in 2005 defined it as how we judge our comprehension of text.
Okay.
It's important not to confuse it with meta-memory,
Okay.
which is about judging what we remember.
Okay.
Like, what facts did you retain?
Metacomprehension is that feeling.
Yes. Of, do I get this as I'm reading it? Or
That's right.
right after I finish reading?
Yes.
Okay.
And how accurate that do I get this feeling is has a big impact on how well we learn,
Makes sense.
as Thied and others showed in 2003.
Okay.
If you can accurately sense that you might struggle with understanding a text on a test, you're more likely to take extra steps to learn it better,
Okay.
like rereading or coming up with retrieval practice questions. Ultimately, good metacomprehension can lead to better overall understanding.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
So how do researchers actually study how good adults are at this, at judging their own comprehension? What do these experiments usually look like?
The typical setup, as Zhao and Linderholm outline, often involves having people, usually college students, read a few different informational texts. And after each one, they're asked to predict how well they think they'll do on a test about that specific text.
Then, after reading all of them, they take the test.
Okay, so they're making like a self-assessment.
Exactly, a self-assessment.
Okay, and how do the researchers figure out
Right.
if those self-assessments are accurate?
So they look at accuracy in two main ways. First, there's relative accuracy. This is about how well people can distinguish between the texts they understood better versus the ones they understood less well.
Go.
So can you tell which text you grasped more thoroughly?
Okay.
This is often measured with a correlation, like a gamma or Pearson correlation, which essentially tells us how well your judgment lines up with your actual score across all the text.
Okay.
A high correlation means your judgments are pretty accurate relative to each other.
So what do these studies generally show? Because I know personally, sometimes I walk away from something feeling like I've got it.
Right.
And then the reality hits later.
That's a very common feeling.
Yeah.
And the research supports it. Surprisingly, adults often show low relative metacomprehension accuracy.
Okay.
A review by Maki in 1998, looking at a number of studies, found an average correlation of only plus 0.27.
Wow. Okay.
That's quite low, suggesting that we're often not very good at knowing which texts we've truly understood better than others.
So when I'm reviewing a bunch of different documents, for example, I might be misjudging which ones I actually understand.
You'd be studying the wrong one more. Yeah.
Okay.
So relying solely on your gut feeling about your comprehension across different sources might lead you astray.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So what's the second way that they measure accuracy?
The second type is absolute accuracy.
Okay.
This looks at how close people's predictions are to their actual overall test performance. It's the difference between what you predicted you'd score and what you actually scored.
Okay.
This tells us if people tend to be generally overconfident or underconfident in their understanding.
And what's the general trend there?
Yeah.
Are we usually too optimistic or are we too pessimistic?
The research points to a tendency for overconfidence, especially among those who tend to perform less well.
Okay.
Studies by Glover in 1989, Packer and colleagues in 2000, and Maki and others in 2005 all indicate this.
Okay.
People often think they understand more than the test results suggest.
Okay, so if I'm sometimes feeling like I'm struggling with a new topic, it's even more crucial to actively check my understanding.
Absolutely.
Because the research suggests
you could be really overestimating how much you've grasped.
Yeah, that's really eye-opening.
It is.
If we're not great at knowing what we know and what we don't, what are we using to make these judgments? What makes us think that we've understood something?
So Zhao and Linderholm explore this by looking at the factors that influence our metacomprehension judgments. They broadly categorize these into two areas: our immediate experiences while we're reading and our pre-existing expectations about how well we'll perform.
Okay, experiences with the current task.
Yes.
Sounds like, how easy or difficult the reading feels.
Exactly. Let's start with topic familiarity. Glenberg and his colleagues in several studies back in 1987 found a strong link between how familiar people felt with the main idea of a text and how well they thought they understood it. Interestingly, they even showed that it was familiarity with the topic itself. Not just the specific words in the text that influence these judgments. Maki and Sarah's 1992 study supported this, showing that even being familiar with the titles or descriptions of texts could predict later judgments of understanding.
So when I'm reading about a topic that I already know something about, it might feel like I understand the new information better than I actually do.
That's a very common trap in thinking that you understand something.
Yeah, and this could be a trap when I'm trying to learn something new. Because I might not dig deep enough because of that initial feeling of familiarity.
Exactly. You skate over it thinking, oh yeah, I already know this. You're not really processing it deeply.
Okay. What other immediate reading experiences play a role?
Another key one is the ease of text processing. Rawson and Donlosky's 2002 work is significant here. They showed that when texts were well organized and easy to follow, or when they didn't have things like missing letters that make reading difficult, people rated their understanding higher. Donlosky and colleagues confirmed this in 2006, finding the same effect in both younger and older adults. So if the reading feels smooth, we tend to assume we've understood it better.
That makes sense. If I'm constantly rereading sentences because they're confusing, I'm probably going to realize I'm not grasping the information. But if it flows nicely, I might not realize that I'm just skimming and not truly absorbing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, what else from the reading experience influences us?
So the ease of immediate text recall is another factor, as Morris demonstrated in 1990. He found that people who could quickly remember more information right after reading tended to have higher confidence in their understanding, while those who struggled to recall had lower confidence. It feels like if you can easily bring information to mind, you must have understood it well.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And they mentioned some self-report data.
Oh, yeah.
Where they asked people directly about how they made these judgments.
Yes, exactly. Studies by Linderholm and colleagues, which was ongoing when Zhao and Linderholm wrote their paper, and Zhao and others in 2006, directly asked participants about what they considered when judging their understanding.
Okay.
These reports confirm the importance of topic familiarity.
Okay.
How interesting they found the topic.
And how difficult the text seemed.
Okay.
People mentioned using their existing knowledge, how engaged and focused they were, and how challenging the reading felt as clues to their comprehension.
Okay.
All very intuitive things that people are relying on.
So that's what's happening while we're reading.
Right?
What about the preformed expectations of performance?
Yeah.
Where do those come from?
These come from our past experiences.
Okay.
And our general sense of our own abilities as learners.
Okay.
A great example is a study by Hacker and his team in 2000 in a college classroom.
Okay.
They found that students' predictions of how they would do on future exams were strongly influenced by how they thought they had performed on previous exams. But surprisingly, their actual scores on those past exams didn't have the same strong influence.
That's really interesting.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah. So if I think I did well last time, I'll be optimistic about this time.
Yes.
Even if my actual past performance wasn't that great. It suggests we rely on our self-perceptions of our abilities, which aren't always accurate reflections of reality.
And the Moore and colleagues' 2005 study reinforces this as well.
Yes.
They found that even when they changed how difficult the texts were across multiple tries, people's predictions about their future performance stayed relatively consistent, suggesting a strong influence of their ingrained sense of their reading ability. Like having a fixed idea of how good I am at something. And that idea shapes my judgment.
Exactly.
Regardless of the specific task at hand.
And that can be very dangerous because if you have an inflated sense of your ability, you're not going to prepare as well. You're not going to take the steps necessary to truly master the material.
It sounds like we're bringing a lot of baggage, our past perceptions, into how we judge our current understanding.
Yes, absolutely.
How do these two sets of factors, the immediate experience and our past expectations, how do those interact?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Is there a way to understand how they come together? Into this final judgment?
So Zhao and Linderholm propose that the anchoring and adjustment model can be really helpful here. This builds on the idea of dual process models of how we make these kinds of judgments. These models suggest we have both quick automatic reactions based on our current experiences and more thoughtful, deliberate considerations based on our beliefs and knowledge.
So the immediate feelings of ease or familiarity would be the quick reactions.
Exactly.
And our beliefs about our reading skills would be the more deliberate considerations.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Now, the anchoring and adjustment part, which comes from the work of Tversky and Kahneman back in 1974, suggests that when we're trying to make a judgment in a situation where we're not entirely sure of the answer, like predicting how we'll do on a test, we start with the first guess and anchor. And then we adjust that guess based on other information. However, we often don't adjust enough.
So in the context of understanding what we read, what's the anchor and what's the adjustment?
So Zhao and Linderholm suggest that we often anchor on our preformed expectations of how well we'll do, which are influenced by our self-perceptions of our abilities, because we don't know exactly what the test will be like. We start with what we already believe about ourselves as learners. Then we might try to adjust this initial feeling based on how easy or difficult the current reading was, or how familiar the topic seemed. But this adjustment is often not sufficient. So our final judgment ends up being too close to our initial anchor.
It really clicks. That explains why in the Moore study, people's predictions didn't change much. Even when the texts were harder or easier, they were anchored on their general sense of their reading ability. And not adjusting enough for the specific challenge of that text.
Exactly. And research in a related area called judgment of learning, or JOLs, by Czech and others in 2004, provides evidence for this anchoring idea in how we predict what we'll remember.
So if I'm picturing this right, we've got our ingrained beliefs about ourselves feeding into this initial anchor. Then our current reading experience tries to nudge that anchor.
Exactly.
But often not strongly enough to give us a really accurate picture.
Exactly. And sometimes the experience might even reinforce the anchor. If the reading is easy and you already think you're a good reader, that just solidifies your belief. That's the core of their anchoring and adjustment model of metacomprehension judgment. They even point out that other things besides our self-perception of ability could act as anchors, maybe even what we see happening with others, as shown in memory judgment research by De Carvalho, Filho, and Yuzawa in 2001.
Okay, so social information.
Social information, exactly.
Okay.
So if you see your peers struggling with a text, you might adjust your own judgment downward, even if you found the text relatively easy.
This model really helps to make sense of why we're not always the best judges of our own understanding.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dig into the constraints on metacomprehension accuracy.
Absolutely.
That the paper highlights.
Yeah.
There are two main ones, right?
There are two main ones that they highlight.
Right.
Yeah, the first one is the anchoring effect.
Okay.
And then the fact that some of the clues we use aren't very reliable.
Okay, so let's start with the anchoring effect due to test uncertainty.
Absolutely.
Okay, as we've discussed, this can lead to low relative accuracy.
Right.
That difficulty in telling which texts we understood better than others.
Yeah.
Because our judgments tend to stay relatively stable across different texts.
Yes.
Due to not adjusting enough from our initial anchor.
Exactly. The anchor is holding us back from making those fine-grained distinctions.
And it also contributes to that overconfidence, the poor absolute accuracy.
Yes.
Because if our anchor is based on a slightly inflated view of our abilities,
right,
our predictions will likely be too optimistic.
Exactly. We're starting from a point that's already too high.
Yeah.
So even if we adjust a little bit,
we're
still likely to overestimate our performance.
And the reason why this anchoring effect is so strong,
Yeah.
according to Zhao and Linderholm, is the uncertainty surrounding the upcoming test.
Right.
We don't know the specific questions.
We don't know what they're going to ask us.
Yeah.
We don't know the format.
We don't know how challenging it'll be.
Exactly.
This lack of clarity makes us rely more heavily on that internal anchor, our preformed beliefs.
Exactly. We're grasping for something to hold on to.
Yeah.
And our prior beliefs about our abilities are often the most readily malleable.
Okay, this also connects to the transfer-appropriate monitoring hypothesis that the paper mentions.
Yeah, absolutely. Dunlosky and his colleagues proposed this idea in 2005. It basically suggests that you're better at judging how well you'll do on a test if the way you think about the material while studying is similar to how you'll be tested.
Okay.
So if you practice retrieving specific facts from memory, and the test requires you to recall those facts, your judgments of learning are likely to be more accurate.
So when we're uncertain about the test format, we tend to make more general judgments about our understanding.
We say, oh, I understand this topic.
Yeah.
But we don't think about how we might be asked to demonstrate that understanding.
Yeah, which might not align well with the specific cognitive processes required by the actual test.
Right. And this mismatch contributes to the anchoring effect.
And the Dunlosky study, where they had people make predictions about specific terms, that improved accuracy. Because it made the prediction more aligned with the eventual test.
Exactly. When participants judged how well they thought they'd recall specific terms, and the test focused on those terms, their ability to accurately differentiate between what they knew and didn't know improved.
Okay.
This supports the idea that reducing the mismatch between how we judge and how we're tested helps.
Okay.
However, even in that case, accuracy wasn't perfect, indicating that there are other factors at play.
Which leads us to the second main constraint.
Right.
The fact that some of the experiential cues we use have poor diagnostic validity.
Yeah.
Just because something feels easy to read or we can recall some of it immediately doesn't necessarily mean that we've truly grasped the underlying meaning.
Exactly. It's like fluency doesn't equal comprehension.
Okay, let's take ease of immediate recall.
Okay.
Coriat's accessibility hypothesis from 1995 suggests that we tend to base our judgments on how much information we can easily bring to mind.
Right.
But the problem is we're not always good at judging the quality or accuracy of that recalled information.
Exactly.
We might easily recall certain words or phrases, but they might not represent a deep or correct understanding of the concepts.
Exactly. It's like you can remember the definition of a word, but you don't really understand how to use it in a sentence.
Yeah, so I might feel like I understand because I can remember some details.
Right.
But those details might be superficial or even wrong.
Absolutely. And that can lead to a false sense of confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, a hacker in 1998 argued that trying to evaluate our own understanding is inherently tricky because we're essentially comparing our mental representation of the text with our mental representation of the text.
Okay.
It's a subjective process.
Right.
He even suggested that getting feedback from others, discussing the material, or looking at other sources could help us get a more objective view.
So like checking our understanding with someone else. Exactly.
Get a second opinion.
What about the other ease of text processing?
Yeah.
The paper indicated that that's not always a reliable indicator either.
Right.
Okay.
Rawson and Dunlosky's 2002 findings illustrated this well.
Yep.
They found that while people's confidence increased when texts were easier to read, their actual comprehension didn't always improve at the same rate.
Okay.
Just because a text flows smoothly at a surface level doesn't guarantee a deep understanding of the underlying concepts.
Okay. But the paper also mentioned that ease of processing can be a better indicator.
Yes.
Under certain circumstances, something related to the situation model.
Yeah. This relates to Kinch's construction integration model of how we understand text.
Okay.
He proposes that we build different levels of understanding.
Okay.
The exact words, the basic meaning.
Okay.
And then a deeper situation model that connects the text to our existing knowledge.
Okay.
Rawson and colleagues in 2000 found that when people reread texts, which likely helps in building that deeper situation model, their ability to accurately judge what they understood improved.
Yep.
This suggests that when the ease of processing reflects that deeper level of understanding, it becomes a more reliable cue.
Okay, so rereading might make the processing feel easier.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually building a better, more integrated understanding.
Exactly. You're not just recognizing the words. You're actually connecting the ideas and building a mental model of the situation.
Okay, to recap these challenges.
Yeah.
We tend to stick to our initial assumptions about our abilities when predicting our understanding.
Right.
Especially when we're not sure what the test will be like.
Exactly. The uncertainty makes us cling to what we already believe about ourselves.
And we often rely on clues like how easy something feels to read or recall.
Right.
Which don't always accurately reflect how deeply we've understood it.
And that can be a recipe for overconfidence and poor performance when it really counts.
And the paper briefly touches on how we might improve our ability to judge our understanding. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, what are some of those avenues for improvement?
So based on these constraints, a couple of key areas emerge.
Okay.
One is to reduce that test uncertainty by giving learners more information about what the test will be like, the format, the types of questions, and the key topics.
Okay.
This could help lessen our reliance on that initial anchor of our self-perceived ability.
Okay.
The other is to help us better evaluate the reliability of those experiential cues.
Okay.
For example, for recall encouraging strategies where we don't just try to remember, but also try to verify the accuracy of what we're recalling. Perhaps through discussion or checking against the source material. And for processing ease, using techniques that push us towards deeper understanding, like actively summarizing in our own words or trying to connect the new information to what we already know.
So it's about both being clearer on what we're being asked to know and getting better at evaluating the depth of our own understanding, not just the surface level familiarity.
Exactly. Metacomprehension is this fascinating and complex interplay between what happens as we and what we already believe about ourselves. Our judgments aren't always on the mark because we tend to lean on those initial beliefs and sometimes mistake a smooth reading experience or easy recall for true deep understanding.
So for you, the listener, who is always seeking to gain knowledge effectively and efficiently,
absolutely,
understanding these underlying processes is incredibly valuable. It gives you a framework for thinking about how you assess your own understanding. And it highlights potential pitfalls to watch out for.
Absolutely.
By being aware of these biases and limitations, you can develop more effective learning strategies and become a more accurate judge of your own comprehension. I love it. Okay, so as a final thought for you, think about the last time that you felt really confident, that you understood something complex that you read. What was that feeling based on?
What was it?
Was it the clarity of the writing? Your existing knowledge of the subject, the ease with which you could remember certain points. Now, considering what we've discussed, Do you think those were entirely reliable indicators
I'd be curious to know.
of your actual grasp of the material?
Yeah.
And what small changes might you experiment with in the future to get more accurate reading on your own comprehension?
How could you adjust your approach?
Some really valuable food for thought.
It is.
And we encourage you to continue exploring these ideas.
Yes.
And think about how metacognition plays out in your own learning journey.
It's fascinating stuff.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Absolutely.
We'll catch you in the next one.
See you later.